welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. We did touch upon Manu and how the lot of bad characterization of Manu has happened over the last, we can say, 70 years or 80 years. And it has been so popularly discussed that sometimes people feel that that is a right description of Manu. Uh, Before we start off, Sat means truth in Sanskrit, and myth is also a Sanskrit word, is a Sanskrit dhatu, root word, which means a lie or imagination or a fake, which if you look at the words like mithya, mithyachar, all these things have come with that Sanskrit root. Mito abhipetya, grihavratanam. You must have heard all these Sanskrit words. And so mythology means the science of fake or imagination, or that means something which has no proof. Whereas Sattology is the word means science of truth because of the word Sat and combined with Latin logos. So thank you all for joining today. And we have a very interesting topic, debunking fake narratives around Manu. And this is a part 2 of the discussion. And I really found someone, a very good friend, and who has studied this work. So without delay, let us welcome Prof
Vivek Mishra. Thank you so much, Aditya ji.
Thank you
for inviting me once again. It's really an honor to be on such a great platform called Sattology, which the Indian or the world needs for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vivek ji. So last time we did discuss about Manu, and today before the show, we were discussing about how the personality of Manu is mischaracterized as something which is exploitative or something like that. And my logical point to that is, how can a father be exploitative for his own children? I'm talking about the good father, where even if one children has a disease, like maybe one children is a special child and another one is going through the school, but the father shows love to both of them. And how can the father of mankind, from whom the word man comes from, be exploitative? So there's a mischaracterization there. So what is your view on that, sir?
Let me elaborate on the point which you have just said. The father of Indian or the Adam of the Hindus. So at the outset, let me say,
I would say that the whole world, not just Hindus.
Okay, fine, because it has been respected and recognized all over the world. It's not something in the Indian context. It's throughout the world. What I intended to emphasize upon at the outset was that Manu, as we said, the Indian Adam or the world Adam, as regards jurisprudence or the social cultural ethos, he has been regarded as an authority, as an expert, as a person of par excellence in terms of knowledge, in terms of dharmshastra, in terms of the social structure. And he has not only been regarded in the Indian sphere as well as the outside world as also. Say the Western world, the Eastern world, all have recognized him even in the ancient times, as well in the medieval and in the modern times. Some controversies have come up in the modern times. But if our Mahabharata mentions him with respect, if our Ramayana mentions him with respect, something of the Buddha or the Dayanand Saraswati or anybody, please, and the scholars of the West, if they are mentioning Manu as something which is very important and honorable, how can we expect certain lowly or demeaning or controversial things from such a learned person? Because if he is regarded in such high esteem, he would be a very balanced, a very rational, and a very person who regards all the sections equally. So to say that Manu did something or Manu said something would be something non-palatable. Second point which I want to make it, that in ancient times, the things were all said in a discourse form. Since Manu, as I said, was regarded as the authority on knowledge, uh, the other scholars approached him for their satiation regarding their questions, regarding their queries of knowledge or the society, dharma, etc. And this entire thing is a discourse or a lecture or a teaching which is given to those scholars who are approaching Manu for their questions. And as such, whatever is being said is being transmitted through verbal, oral mechanisms. As we know that in ancient times, the Smriti or Shruti age was based on your oral deliberations and passed on through your hearings. We all know that a student who was good at reciting or imbibing or learning everything by heart was to be a very good ideal student, and then he passed on things to the other students of his students. Things could not have been verbatimly recorded later on. So whatever exists is a pollution, and not in totality, but several aspects have been polluted. They have been added. They can be projections of scholars who later on have went on to edit or introspect or improve or improvise upon the text that is called as Manusmriti.
No,
So
one of the things which is grossly mistaken is, first of all, caste is a European word. It has nothing to do with Hindu, and the Aryan invasion theory is also proved wrong. Aryans did not come from the West. Aryans actually went from India to the West.
to the
That's why the genetic makeup is the same. Because if Aryans came from Europe to here, then the Aryan culture should be in Europe.
exactly.
But Europeans don't follow that culture, and they have a different culture because they have been preached to follow something else or forced to follow something else. So they lost touch. So, but the the bigger mass has always stayed here. So they cannot call Aryan. And Hitler was a criminal who misused the word Aryan for himself. And even Iranians today, they call themselves Aryans, which is again they should not be using it because they are not Aryan. They lost the culture. So Aryan or Arya is a word of respect, one who follows Vedic culture. Not anyone can be called them. It's not a race.
Exactly.
So so that the race, the what do you call it, anthropological makeup, which is not correct, the Western science. So many people, they gave accusations on Manu on creating differentiation between different people, different kinds of people. So what is your view on that? What type of texts we should discuss those and show why, what type of texts they quote all the time?
Like as far as the divisions which we were talking about
Yes.
in the society regarding Manu, Manu has definitely made a division of labor in the society. And it is basically for the development, the progress, the onward march of society, which needs this division. It's not the other way around, that the division has created the society or something like this. So, like he's basically talking about the theory of karma. He says that there is a cause and effect thing. It is a result of actions and education, of course. Whatever the present and future is happening, that is the only source or the only person who's responsible, that is us. We are responsible for our present and we are responsible for our future. Not birth, not destiny, please. He gave the prescriptions for four varna system. That is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And that is for the progress. Let us understand what is varna, what it means. It means that which has been adopted. What we adopt, we like and enjoy. That is what we adopt. and thus which has been chosen by us, by our efforts and our pains. That is Varna. So in terms of, education, in terms of our proximity to certain, aspect of life or profession, we are distinguished into a Varna. And that, as I said, he's either a priest or a warrior or a trading or a working class. For that matter, like if we see the Brahmin or the priest class, he is the one who speaks the truth, performs yajna, the fire sacrifice, and he has the supreme actions. His actions are supreme. He's the one known as the Gayatri. Gayatri is something that is a Brahmin who's a Ved, who knows Vedas, who knows Yajna, and who's a Paramatma, nearing to Paramatma. So some of the so-called intellectuals have propagated that Brahmins had usurped all the powers, they were bad, worshipped idols, and so on. And for this propaganda, it has given us such a lot of defaming to the Indian, Varna system. But if you look at the prescriptions of Manu, the priests, they have a very, very tough life. They have, they have to take bath for several times in a day, cannot wear good clothes. Ornaments, cannot frequent with women. A very strict regime was for Brahmins. Indeed, such huge texts have been written by Indian scholars. Such large academic work has been done. All this could not have been possible without such strict regime. So, and we give such childish statements, that from the head of the Brahma, Brahmins were born, and from the arms, Kshatriyas, and stomach, Vaishyas. And what about Ganges, the river Ganges? We all know that it has originated from the foot of Lord Hari and Vishnu, and thereafter it resides in the forehead of Lord Shiva. What does this symbolize? That the foot of Lord Vishnu is residing on Lord Shiva's forehead. These are some childish, talks. Then, as for Kshatriyas, he's a person who protects the people, who protects people from attacks, who saves them from any losses or hurts, etc. He is a savior of the people. So he can be considered to be has a proximity to power and a power to protect the society, the people. Then we have the Vaishyas, and he's perfect in all practical business. A Vaishya. Practical practices, whether it be animal husbandry, some business class, profit, etc. So this is a class which is delving into the economic aspects of the society. And then we have the fourth one, which is called as a person, Shudra, because of his non-education or non-knowledge. And he can go to the upper class. He can definitely climb to that upper class. He is also worried about to go to the upper class because of his physically strong and helping people, other people. He is there in that particular class. If a person who works in all the houses, he is working for all the three classes, how can he be relegated to a very lowly standard? So Manu has tried to give a division of labor in the society, such a structure so that we can have progress. And if that was not the aim, why would there be any progress? If I'm born in a Brahmin and I tend to remain in that class, I need no work, I need no pains, and then no restrictions on me. But let me tell you that there is migration, as you know, that uploadings and downloadings. If a priest does not read Vedas, does not perform evening prayers, does not go for sacred thread ceremony till the designated age, and he enjoys the company of lowly people, then a twice born is relegated to a Shudra. And similarly, if a Shudra does certain acts, he can upgrade himself to the twice born. We have several examples where Scholars who were from the lower rung, they have risen to the higher rung, and higher rung people have performed acts of lower rung as well. We all know that Manu was a king, and he is writing something in terms which are classified as the work of a Brahmin or a priest. The priests were expected to, dwell upon the knowledge aspect or propagation of, dharma, etc. So there are ample of examples regarding, people upgrading or downloading, and they have been there. The system of class, Varna, was useful for the development and upgradation of the society.
You bring out some very important points here, especially in the, I want to remind the people again, Europe had a class system where one cannot transcend the class unless you have money. And even today it is true. The vaccines are first given to the elites and then to the poor people, even today. And there was a recent accusation about the against the elitist mentality of most of the European nobles. So that's a caste system right there. Now, in the accusations against India fall flat because majority of so-called upper class people, according to Europeans, are doing menial jobs. So they may be called upper class in name only, but they're driving a rickshaw or they're cleaning toilets. They do all kinds of things they're doing, which is not menial in any way from my perspective, because anything done to maintain your family is a good profession.
And with honesty, yeah.
With honesty, honesty, integrity it counts more.
Yeah.
And those people get respected also. So it's not about what is your, so main problem is the economic status really depends on the hard work that you put and also your past results and what you do. Like you won't make somebody an IS officer just because he belongs to the IS officer family. He has to still pass an examination, and a civil servant has to go through a process. So these are qualified processes. But why Manu is mentioning that? Because Manu wants to, even today, I'm talking about the societies like USA. There are people, Rothschilds. There are a lot of other, the children of the Gates families, and all these rich businessmen. They do not want their children to mix up with any ordinary person, somebody a drug addict on the east side of Manhattan. They won't do that because it's just a way to protect their children. That is not differentiation. If you challenge that kind of differentiation, that is common sense. You don't want your children to associate with people who are into bad habits. It's natural. So accusing the whole ancient culture of differentiation or segmentation based on a logical thing, which you also do, it's a conspiracy then.
It's a conspiracy.
I can say that, okay, if some rich billionaire from US doesn't want to send their children to public schools, he's following a racist culture. No, that's not the case. The case is that he wants to give best education to their children. And so I think this is the point people miss out. So the classes exist in any society, regardless of whether it's from India or anywhere else, because there will be always a teacher, there will be always a businessman, always a protector, and always a service for people.
Exactly.
Right? So ultimately it all boils down to a harmonious society as a whole. And I think when Manu is trying to say, if you do not understand the personality of Manu as a father of mankind, the entire humanity, Adam and Eve theory is like there's no proof. It's just a belief. You have to believe in it. It never happened. There's no person like Adam, no person like Eve. Just believe, you have to believe, because it's a forced thought by these churches and other Abrahamic faiths. But Manu is a reality because you still use the word mankind.
Exactly.
So
almost Homo sapiens we use.
Yeah. Well, again, Homo sapiens again comes from Hemo, which again means the red color. So people who have red color, which is all the monkeys also have, not just so the connotation is that we use for human beings, but the
Okay.
denotation of that word is completely different. Uh, so my next question to you is, which were the other clauses? Like, for example, they say Manu created differentiation, and only in India this type of logic is there because that was being told in English by the Western authors, discussed heavily in University of Berkeley. I know that for sure, and being told to Indians that this is what you followed. And so, what are the other verses you think have been misinterpreted?
Uh, Rightfully said that basically in regards to the women, there has been a lot of criticism, very narrow and discriminatory. Lowly prescriptions have been said what Manu has told. That's only an allegation. There have been, no doubt, there have been some verses which depict a similar prescription for women. For example, there's one verse which says that a girl, young woman, or an old one should not do anything independently. That's verse 147 in the chapter 5. And then there's another verse in chapter 9 which says, men must make their women dependent day and night. A woman is not fit for independence. Unguarded, women bring sorrow upon the families. Such contradictory and lowly verses are there definitely, and I am pretty assured that they are projections of later on scholars. Approximately 30 verses are there, because when we look at the other side of the coin for women which Manu talks about, several are there which are all in high praise for women, in their admiration and in high esteem, and the numbers outnumber such ones which are in lowly esteem for women. I would like to recite or cite certain verses. For example, 129 verse to 133 of chapter 2, they say, a woman who is another man's wife and not related by birth, one should address her as lady, good woman, and sister. At the same time, mother's brother, father's brother, father in law, priests and gurus to rise and greet them even if they are younger. The people are asked to embrace the feet of brother's wife every day. Treat father's sister, mother's sister, and his elder sister like a mother. And moreover, like such contemporary things are there. Women and bridegroom to be given a right of way. That is 138 verse of the chapter 2. And the best is that where women are worshipped, yatra naryastu pujante ramante tatra devta. That is 56th verse of chapter 3, prescribing that wherever women are treated with respect or are worshipped, there you have divine environment, divine children, divine earnings are there. If women are happy, then the family is happy, peaceful, enjoyment and success is there. All families where women are not respected and they are harassed or oppressed, there is an atmosphere of unsuccessfulness. Where women are miserable, family is destroyed. Just look at these things. And that is 57th worth of the third chapter. And it says, further on, it says, homes that are cursed by women are completely destroyed. Men who wish to prosper should always revere women with ornaments, clothes, and at celebrations and at festivals. So, such things, if are said for women, how can we expect such lowly things from a authority, from an expert, from such a scholar who has been so profound and so renowned? So it is basically the projections or the you know uh, pollutions which have been later on added. Just look at that. He even says that a girl, young woman, or even an old woman should not do anything independently, even in a house. These things have been said, and they talk about that in childhood, father controls youth, husband, and the son in the later part. Such things cannot be said by scholar like Manu. They are all pollutions, please. They are all pollutions. He had great affection and respect and regards for women. And as I said, the women are miserable. Wherever women are miserable, family is destroyed. What does that mean? That means, in a sense, like we also know that Manu talks about the four stages of life. That is the brahmachar, the grihast, and the priest, and the sannyas. And in this fourth stage of life, the most important stage is the household stage. And the household stage is only possible when women are respected. And if women are not respected, then the households do not exist. And if the households don't exist, the other three cannot exist, because the household stage of life, enriches or holds or sustains the other three, whether it is the monetary part or the social support system. It is the household structure which sustains the other three, and household system is sustained by women of the house. So if a person, and there are several verses in praise of women in Manu, in this Manusmriti. So to say on in relation to some 20-30 verses that women have been disrespected, they have been subjugated, they have been tortured, or they have been inhumanized, is really childish, really childish.
You are absolutely right. Like they say, and we all know, the West, led by the Pope or the Church, did not give women the rights. They were considered on par with animals
Hmm.
till 1800s. And in the USA, they had to fight a lot. 1936, 1924, 1924, they considered give citizenship to Native Americans. So that was an institutionalized anti-women hate. And now, where in India it never existed. The British
Never.
officers were surprised when Rani Lakshmibai fought against them single-handedly alone. They'd never seen a woman fighting. So,
Exactly.
so it was, so just to say
You,
that, and that is in 1600s, 1700s, right? 1800s, early 1800s. Now, when you put these facts in front of the Western audience, they're shocked, and so we have to start challenging them, because the entire notion of showing the Vedic culture in a dark spot, and that is a huge propaganda in American universities right now, and also in the Oxford, where they show Hinduism as backward, and they had come to reform Hinduism. I know what they did in South America. Christians went to reform South America, killed 200 million people. And the Muslims, we know, they did not have any criteria of reform. But what they did in Middle East, wherever they went, those places are still in shambles. So those people cannot talk about women's rights, actually, to be frank with you. And so what is the another aspect? I think one is the caste they attack on, which we debunked. Second is the rights of women. And the third is the social structure they attacked on. And the fourth is the Brahmans. The Western audience say the Brahmans have a special place. And for that, I have a very interesting story to say, that they attacked Brahmins because they were the brain of the society, and they protected against these kind of misinformation. And they were like, if anybody would have a problem, they would go to a Brahman. To just today, you go to a psychiatrist, you go to a consultant. If your marriage is breaking down, you go to a counselor. All these people are doing the same function which others were doing earlier. So attacking Brahman was to destroy from the root, so that Hindus are defenseless,
exactly.
because those are the people who could give arguments. And funny thing is, those people became their spokesman also in India. Rabindranath Tagore, all these people who
Exactly.
gave famously Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel Prize on anything.
We
I don't
all
know
know
why
how he got
Indians,
it.
Why Indians are happy on that? Because
We all
Nobel
know
Prize.
how he got it.
Yeah, you
How,
tell
I
us the
mean,
story.
we have that story, that
Yes,
how he got it, because the song which he wrote on the arrival of Henry Fifth, the
John
King Fifth,
George Fifth.
George Fifth, the Janaganaman. That's basically in his praise, and the king was there in the advisory committee of the Nobel Peace Prize, and then he said, and like he recommended, and he wanted that Rabindranath should get it. And then we all know that later on, Rabindranath ji said that that would not be very true or very fair. So he requested, Rabindranath requested that please give me for my another poem which was there, which is not even of that standard. And we respect and regard the Nobel laureate to be in favor of the Indian ethos. But that's another story. Like we were talking about the mm, Brahmins. Before I come to that, one point regarding the women, Manu talks about the Stridhan, or the common term which is known as dowry. And he says that nobody can take the Stridhan. Stridhan is that which a married woman brings from her home as gifts which she receives from her parents or from her relatives, and whatever she accumulates, in times of her married life. So in 192 verse of the ninth chapter, Manu says that nobody can take the Stridhan. It can only be given either to the daughter or daughter-in-law, and in exigencies it can be used. Now, what does this mean? This gives a status, a position, an economic position, independence to the women of that time even. So, regarding the division of property or jewelry also, he has explained everything in his Manusmriti. There is no difference between the goddess of good fortune and women, he says. So it means that all the four stages are based on women, and then even she has an independence in terms of economic standing. And there is also a term called as punarbhu, which Manu mentions. What does that mean? That in case the husband is incapable, is non-serious, or he's not worthy, then a woman could remarry. So all these things, and that there is a clause of no to suppliant marriage. Like a wife's sister cannot be married in the same family. These can appear to be very normal, structures, but they are standing in support, in strength for the women. You cannot exploit the relations of the women. You cannot downgrade her in terms of economic standings. So, and you cannot even socially, like if the person is not, capable of maintaining the married life, she had the option even to remarry. So the structures and the prescriptions of Manu are so very generous and so very, in support of the women. It has totally been, polluted by the later on writings. So let us have a very clear picture. Let us go into deep into the things. Only those verses are highlighted, which there's Aditya there's a saying that it's the good is often interred with their bones, and evil do lives after that. It is the evil which is being propagated. It's not the good that is being propagated. I have one very very good thing about this. Like we were, called as the golden bird in ancient times. We all know that, right? And what does that mean? That we were very prosperous. We had all things, right? And we were the wealthiest country in the world. 24 to 25% of the share in the world trade we had, which was equal to the share of the entire European continent. But when the world was still operating on barter system, we had adopted coin or money-based system. So India was rich, say in cotton, silk, spices, diamonds, and so many other items. But when the Britishers left, we were relegated to a nadir of 2 to 3% of the international trade share. Not only such material aspects or natural resources, not only they were in abundance, we were also highly enriched in terms of our culture, religion, value system, social structure. All things were of such nature. We were really golden sparrow or golden bird of that time. Unfortunately, there has been a steep decline in such aspects. What happened in the course of all such development was that good was often interred and the evil does live after. From being a golden bird, we got downloaded to a country of snake charmers, an icon of poverty. But we all know that we are now, climbing towards, the most good economy of the world. We are forging for a global guru status, fifth largest economy, etc., etc. So we have had certain, phases of our, life where we have been relegated to such things. The best part is that in terms of physical things, natural resources, whatever downgradings we had or whatever downfalls we had, that are attributed to the outsiders of the Indian, from the Indian state, means the Europeans or the Westerners, etc. But in terms of such social, cultural, such scriptures, both the insiders and outsiders have been responsible. So it is us, basically. More importantly, we have been responsible for not going deep and strictly inside the text and scriptures, reading them with seriousness. We have had versions from the outside world, versions which are biased, versions which are written with certain agenda of the West or like that. So let us be concentrated on what is truly there, what is honestly there.
Great point, Vivek ji, because it's there's a whole lot of conspiracy going on and people still talk. So which versions of Manusmriti that you were quoting from? Can you show that on the screen, please?
Please, please. This is one which I rely upon. This is by Suren Nathji. And this is a highly researched text. Previously, this was one, but only for the English version. This is not the correct version, please.
Yeah, this is a very mistranslatable version. I think. All of you have to read. I have to learn. You have to learn Hindi, Devanagari, to learn all these scriptures. Reading Western authors is a pain, actually. Or Indians also following Western thought process.
Exactly.
So the traditions speak totally differently because they maintain it. And I'll also debunk one theory about the West. There is a particular effort to show themselves good. That's what they try to do. That they are the holier than thou. They are the ones who can comment on you, and you brown skins are not very educated. This is particularly the disease of this. I call this European skin disease. And most of the European settlers who settled here think of that just because they don't have a color and they can comment on everyone else. But and that's how they're taught to the whole world, that everyone should be like them, which is totally wrong and criminal to some extent, because criminality can be in any sphere. Bad intentions cannot be that way. It can also be that way. So thank you, Vivek ji, for coming on the show, and we covered some parts of it. And you did see the books over there. Do read them if you get to know of Hindi, or you can listen to us, and we can safely say that all the accusations or discrimination against Manu are fake. They are mythology, not Sattology. So thank you, Vivek ji, for coming, and thank you all the viewers for watching. Do comment on the YouTube video and subscribe. Namaskar.
Namaskar.